Mark chapter 10, verses 32 to 45. 32 to 45. I was just looking to see. No, that's still not the end. There's still 46 to 52 to go, and then we can say adios. We are, by the way, in terms of the procession of time, we're coming. Chapter 11 is the triumphal entry, which we would, if we would have timed this correctly, we would have had that happen on Palm Sunday, but it didn't happen that way. So we're in fact, next week is about blind Bartimaeus being healed. So, but for today, none of us likes bad news, right? When you see an envelope that says at the top of it, United States Government Department of the Internal Revenue Service, we could, well, if we haven't done anything wrong, I guess I haven't got anything to worry. That's when you find out, In fact, we can live in denial rather than face reality. And we're not talking about the queen of denial. We're talking about living in denial, saying, oh, no, not going to happen, not going to happen, not going to happen. Oh, it's already happened. It's right there. Your car in a wreck is sitting in your driveway. It happened. Get over it. Move on. But some people live in denial. No matter what you say to them, no, don't accept it. Don't accept it. We may have a dream, and I don't mean a dream like, having a vision while you're sleeping, but a dream meaning a goal that you've set. In 6 months I'm going to do this, in 5 years I'm going to do this. If we have a dream and we believe that nothing can stand in the way of it, but what if we are told that the good news we were expecting about our dream job or whatever it be suddenly disappears? It was maybe the funding. Uncle Harry was going to give us the money to start our business, and it was the great American dream to own your own business, which, by the way, I don't know about you, but there are times when it's far better to work for somebody else, especially a company. A lot less stress. Still stress, but not less stress. So then what do when that dream that you had all of a sudden dissolves in front of you? The 12, meaning the 12 apostles, had been told at 2 different times in our reading of Mark that by Jesus, that Jesus, their hope, he was the hope, right? The blessed, chosen one of God, which is what Messiah means, which is also what Christ means. Christ is not Jesus' last name. He didn't come from a family where it was Jesus Christ, Mary Christ, Bill Christ, Joseph Christ. It wasn't that. It wasn't a last name. It was a title. So we know from our reading about the burial of Jesus that it was Joseph of Arimathea, Joseph of a certain area where he was from. It later on if you look at people's last names, like I'm trying to think of I think of Copperfield. Smith.
We got it's a blacksmith.
Blacksmith. So if your name was Joe Smith, then originally that was the Joseph whose father was a blacksmith. Baker's the same way. So I don't know how I got into that. So they had been told, not warned, but Jesus had told them 2 different times. Now, there's a couple of things that could have happened. Either they ignored this prediction that Jesus was making. There was no denying the fact that he could tell them what was going to happen, and it would happen. Okay? Maybe they didn't even want to consider that it was possible that that would happen, because he was their, I don't want to say benefactor like he was the money behind something, but he was certainly the hope. The world was turned upside down right then because of Jesus. And they were tagging along, right? They were also living in fear of going to Jerusalem because they already know what was in Jerusalem, the religious leaders. And those religious leaders were after their master. They were after Jesus. They wanted to silence him. It's funny, even though you're speaking the truth, there are going to be people, oh gosh, this is going on today. People that are speaking the truth, and the rest of the world is going, no, that's fake news. No, that's not the truth. And they just refuse to hear it. So that kind of ignoring the truth when you hear it doesn't make it any less true. There are people that are going to say, remember when the movie came out, God is Dead? I just heard a Loretta Lynn song, and she's been around for a long time. Maybe she lives next door to you, I don't know. But she was singing a song about God is not dead. I want to meet the man that says God is not dead and tell him he's wrong. That was what this was in the song. I just couldn't believe it. It's not a new concept. They were living in fear of going to Jerusalem. Yeah, you can tell her who she is later. They knew that these religious leaders were going to stop at nothing to try to silence Jesus. Now today, you silence somebody by taking their platform away on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And you do that, but it doesn't keep you from standing on the corner and telling people what you think. But you're not reaching the same number of people. So they had a way, and really they reached the same conclusion. If we let this continue, the whole world is going to follow after Jesus.
Oh, no.
So, and we can't have that, because then the Romans, what was their motivation? The Romans the Romans have allowed the Jewish, Judaism it was called, the Jewish religion, to survive under Roman rule, because it gave a little stability to the country. So they let them do that. They let them play religion. They let these high, in fact, from one account I read, they actually chose who the high priest would be. Make sure that they were on the Roman side. So so now here we are. This is kind of the stage is set. This is what's going on. They're after Jesus because the only way to truly shut him up is to kill him. Sounds a little harsh when I first read that the very first time. Gosh, can't we sit down and talk? No, they weren't willing to do that because they didn't want their position to be taken away, because they had a position of power and an influence. If you were, I can think of so many today. Cuomo, right? They're governor of New York. They're asking him to step down because of the decisions that he's made.
Awesome.
They keep, and now the Democrats are actually asking him to step down, and he's a Democrat. But guess what? He will not relinquish his power willingly. Maybe kicking and screaming and drag him away, maybe yes. Or maybe when there's enough opposition then he will. But for right now, when somebody's in a big, high position of power, like these religious leaders were, they don't want to be, they're not going to give it up willingly. They're going to say, no, we like our special seat. We like the people to kind of step out of your way when you're walking down there. They like all of that. And they...
power is addicting.
Yes,
Absolute
it is.
power corrupts absolutely.
That's what they say. They thought, the apostles thought, he was going into big trouble by going into Jerusalem. And of course they were correct. But they didn't know the big plan, right? They were astonished, and we're going to read that here in a second, while the others that were following along, and there were others, because remember, they didn't go get on Amtrak or get on a bus or do whatever. Wherever they went, they walked. Probably pretty healthy people. And so there would be other people walking along, going toward Jerusalem, because the Passover was coming. And it was a celebration where wherever you lived, you had to get there. There actually was a stipulation that said that if you lived too far away, like really, like in Italy or something, you didn't have to come to Jerusalem, to do this. But if you were living within a certain distance, you were expected to come. It was the law. Moses laid it out. Okay, so let's go to verse 23 of chapter 10.
32.
32. Why? Oh, I'm looking at last week. I'm glad you people are on top of things. Okay, it's called The Coming Crucifixion in my Bible. Now they were on the road going up to Jerusalem. What do you mean going up? Don't we say, I'm going downtown, I'm going down to the city. Why is it I'm going up to Jerusalem?
Jerusalem's on a hill.
Because Jerusalem is on a hill, and every place around it you'd have to go up. Or you'd have to go from Jerusalem, you say, I'm going down to Joppa. I'm going down to wherever you were going.
Only Jesus says, I'm going down to Jerusalem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so they were going on the road, going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus was going before them, and they were amazed. He was like going before them like, come on guys, pick up the pace, we want to get there. And they're going, whoa, wait a minute. How come you're so excited to go there when it's all your enemies are there? Well, we're going to see what happens. And as they followed, they were afraid. Yeah, they were afraid. Then he took the 12 aside out of the group and began to tell them the things that would happen to him. Now here's the third time. Oh good, I did 3. Here's the third time that he's telling them about what's going to happen to him. He's prophesying his own death. Verse 33, behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man, who's the Son of Man? Jesus, that was a favorite term that he used for himself. And the Son of Man, capital S by the way, capital M, will be betrayed to the chief priests and to the scribes, which were the lawyers of the day, religious lawyers. And they will condemn him to death and deliver him to the Gentiles. And as if that's not bad enough, then it continues in 34. And they will mock him and scourge him and spit on him and kill him. And the third day he will rise again. So I got some bad news and really bad news, and then I got some good news. And all of this bad news is what he's telling them. And he's not, I guess once you get up into, to Jerusalem, then you don't really have time to pull the 12 aside and have a conversation and do this prediction thing. But this is perfect. You're all walking along this same common road, and you say, guys, group huddle, come here. I want to tell you something. He didn't say I've told you this before, but he's told it 2 other times. Okay. So he tells them. Okay, now bear in mind what he's just said. I'm going to die, and I'm going to rise again. Verse 35. Then James and John, 2 brothers, right? The sons of Zebedee, that Jesus called the sons of thunder, by the way, came to him saying, "Ooh, teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask." You know, that's not going to be good. That's like when your child comes and says that to you.
You gotta say yes no matter what I say.
Yeah, exactly. 37, they said to him, "Grant us that we may sit, one on your right and the other on your left, in your glory." And we'll flip a coin and see who gets the right, who gets the left. The position on the right is a position of prestige and power. But being on your left is probably not so bad. Not so bad. Okay, so when you come into your glory, after what you just said happens and you rise again, what do you think? What do you think they're thinking?
I don't think they got it at all. It's like it's happened twice already, and they just like.
They just ignored it
Yeah.
and said, "Well, maybe I misunderstood them. I don't want to ask any questions, so we'll just." I honestly think from this verse, maybe I'm reading too much into the verse. They've already heard. They've just heard that he's going to rise again after this death. If he's going to rise again, then maybe to them, because they're not thinking spiritually right now, maybe they're thinking, okay, they're going to kill him, but then he's going to come back to life, and we're going to take up, maybe this is the time, the appointed time, when Israel will be given back its place of honor and glory in the world. We'll no longer be under the boot heel of the Romans. Now we're going to be back where we belong. And if that's going to happen, then I want to be in a position of power when you come back and do that. Now that's just my interpretation of what that might have meant. I don't know, but anyway. But Jesus' answer, they said, 38. But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you ask. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink?" And when they say the cup that I drink, in the Bible, it's most always talking about a cup of suffering. Are you able to drink this cup of suffering that I'm going to drink? Yeah. And be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? Not baptism the way that we think of baptism.
Baptism of fire.
Yeah. They said, and they said immediately, without even hesitating, "Sure, we're able." Think about what you just agreed to. So Jesus said to them, "You will indeed drink the cup that I drink, and with the baptism I am baptized with, you will be baptized." Okay, so we'll get back to that little section in a second. "But to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give." Remember, this is by the time this is getting so close to happening, this has been set in stone a long time ago. God knows who's going to be sitting at your right hand and your left hand in heaven, and it's not going to be these two guys. There are going to be 12 thrones in heaven for the 12 apostles, but that's not what this is all about. "But it is for those for whom it is prepared / by the Father." these decisions already been made. It's going to happen in this way. You notice that this is a thing I think that people, certainly what I love about Jesus is that he didn't say to them, "You fools, why would you ask me such a dumb question? Why would you think that you're any better than the other 10, that you would be sitting in this position of power?" He didn't say that. He didn't have a mean bone in his body. He didn't say that to him. He just said the truth.
Talk to them like they were kids, but not in a condescending way.
Right, not in a condescending way.
He recognized their vulnerability and he didn't chastise them for their ignorance.
Right. Right.
He really did treat them with love.
And there is a spiritual way of looking at things, and there is a fleshly way of looking at things. And they're looking at it as a fleshly thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll get little crowns too.
Yeah, we'll get glory.
We'll just being next to him, they would be getting that too. But so Jesus starts off in that, and I said we'd kind of go back to this a little bit. In 39, he says, "You will indeed drink the cup that I drink, and with the baptism I am baptized with, you will be baptized."
It's driven me nuts for like 4 months.
Okay. You will indeed drink the cup that I drink. What exactly does that mean? You say you're willing to drink the cup of suffering. He's saying,
You're going to share my suffering?
in the future, you will drink from that cup of suffering. You have no idea what's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
because if you follow me and they persecute me and put me to death, what do you think they're going to do to you
They will
guys?
also persecute
Or we're
you.
following Jesus.
For sure.
So they are going to be. The only one that got out of it alive was John. That's why my name is John. No. And it's because the other apostles died pretty horrendous deaths, but they were willing to do it for the sake of Jesus.
John didn't have any fun either.
No, he was boiled in oil, but he got out of that. He didn't die there.
Then he had to go to Patmos.
Yeah, he had to go to that luxury hotel there in Patmos.
You saw that movie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the cave. So 41. So anyway, yes, indeed, you bring it up. You are going to suffer, and you are going to go through what I'm going through. So, and that probably went over their head too. They probably didn't figure that one out at all. 41. And when the 10, the other 10 heard it, they began to be, and I think they began to be greatly displeased. Oh, I think they were a lot more than greatly displeased. I think they would have liked to have wrung their necks. They were greatly displeased with James and John, the two fishermen brothers. But Jesus called them to himself, and he said to them, okay, so now he's acknowledging the fact that from a human perspective, humans like to lord over other people because it gives you power over them. And so he uses a worldly example. He knows that they can relate to this. And so, because this is, you can tell by the fact that they're thinking so worldly and not spiritually, and we're not that far away from going to Jerusalem.
I think one of the things too to take into consideration is that they were second-class citizens in their own country.
Yeah.
So they had they were already subhuman to the Romans. So the idea of having glory and being elevated was even more appealing because they had.
Yep.
They were the bottom of the
And
barrel.
they were Galileans too, which Galileans would be
subhuman.
Yeah, Galileans would be nobody here lives in Luling, right? Okay. It would be like somebody from Dallas saying, Oh, you guys are from Louis? Where you smell the oil all the time?
Yeah.
The gas, whatever. So you may be just a perfectly great person, but where you're from, and these were Galileans. They were from the Galilee. Was like living. You're the country guys,
The Hicks.
and
no.
you're the country Hicks, and we're from the big city. We're from the J town, Jerusalem. You know. So here we go. He's going to set them up to give them a lesson, not set them up that way. And so he calls them, come on over here. This is a teaching moment. You know that those who are considered rulers over the Gentiles, okay, considered rulers over the Gentiles. The Gentile nations, they had kings, they had princes, they had people that what we would say governors, mayors. They lord it over them, over the people. They go, no, you just can't come up and see me. You have to make an appointment because I'm something special. So you need to do, they lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority, and their great ones exercise authority over them. So these people exercise authority over the people in order to control them, to get them to do what they want to do, to strike a little fear in them so to make sure they pay their taxes. I used to think they didn't have taxes before modern day, but oh yeah, they had taxes. 43, yet it shall not be so among you. But okay, so in other words, this is the way the world sees it. You get these people that are lording over the other people and making them feel bad because they're farmers or whatever they are. And so he says, but that's not how it is with you. That's not how it's going to be with you. And this probably threw them for a loop. Whoever desires to become great, isn't that what we want our sons and daughters? Maybe when you grow up, you'll be a garbage collector. No, maybe when you grow up, you'll be a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever it is. But he says, whoever desires to become great among you shall be your servant. What do you mean servant? If I want to be great, if I want to be a governor, why would I want to be a servant to somebody? Well, quite frankly, the governor should be our servant.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
44, and whoever of you desires to be the first shall be slave of all. They just got done saying, can I sit at your right hand and your left hand? And he's saying, I can see why you want to do that. You don't care about the other 10 that have been walking the same dirty road with you. You're saying, forget about them, take us into, make us be right there in that position of glory. And he's saying, you want to be in a position of glory and favor and honor and all of that? Then be the servant of the rest of these folks. Wherever you go, what does Kennedy say? Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That's kind of a takeoff on that. Don't be asking what's in it for me. Just say, I'm going to help this person. They're in need of help. And I'm not thinking, let me see, if I help this person, they'll be able to do this for me and that for me. No. Just help them. And he's trying to teach them a lesson that is going to be very difficult for them to get through their head because of the fact that they've thought of the same way, the same worldly way for so long. They've been surrounded by the Pharisees and the Sadducees that were constantly reminding them that they were nothing. The Pharisees, certainly thought that the the common Jewish person was ignorant, and they didn't know, they certainly don't know what we know. So it's our job to direct them in the right path that they should go. And the moment that the person that is in a position of power starts making you think that you're nothing because of your social position or your work position or whatever, then that's going downhill fast. You don't want to be around that if you can help it. So, let me see on the end here. Don't, you must have and when it said servant of all, or slave of all, you have to have a humble heart. You have to. And a servant's heart. Because if you don't have that, and if you have the reverse, which is you have a heart where you're very proud, very arrogant meaning I have the only way, I have the only information. Don't listen to these other people, come and see me, because then that makes me feel more powerful. He's saying, don't let the world show you how to live. Let me show you the way to live. And it's going to be as usual. Jesus is, when he taught, everything he did was 180 degrees different than what the world was doing. That's why when I see the world about to do something, the world system I'm talking about, now that can be just in our country, it can be all over, but of course we're concerned mainly about Texas and then the rest of the United States. We have to be able to say to ourselves, this is what they want me to do. This is why they're paying for TV time and telling me how I should vote or what I should do and whatever. Then I'm going to do exactly the opposite. I don't even have to know all the facts. I mean, I'm not saying you should certainly check into things, but my point is that if they're saying do this, I already know what's in it for them. This is all about a power play. I'm going to do the reverse, and I'm going to be safe. I'm going to be safe. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. This is from verse 45. Oh, I didn't do 45. And to give his life a ransom for many. Verse 45. So he's giving this, and then he's saying, I think this is what he's saying. I'm telling you, this is, if you want to be great, if you want to be this is what you should do. You should be you want to be over somebody. If you're saying I want to be over somebody, I want to be domineer over somebody, you already got it wrong. You should be saying, I really want to help the people. I see the harm, I see what's going on, and I want to be able to help these people. And maybe the only position that I can do that from is from a position of power, so that I can get things done. And so we have sometimes young people that go into government that's at least start out with a really good, noble, ideas. So Jesus ends this portion here by saying, look, I'm setting the example. For even the Son of Man, I didn't come to earth for people to be hustling around trying to serve me. That's not at all what he was here for. But he was here to serve others, not to be served, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And you know what a ransom is? Somebody's kidnapped and they say, we'll let you see your daughter again if you give us $5 million in marked bills or whatever. And so the ransom that he paid was with his own blood. He paid a ransom for us to set us free. I don't know if, I think one of the greatest examples that we probably can't even relate to. But you all know that slavery still exists in the world, right?
Yeah.
I don't, not necessarily here, although I think there's an underground part of that that's going on. In these days, when you went to a slave market, you wanted to get some slaves to work for you, the person that owned the slaves would bring them, have them stand on a platform, and then you, or not necessarily a platform, but you could come and inspect the slave. You could see, like, if their teeth were bad, or their eyesight was bad, or if they had muscles, and you wanted them to work in your fields, your farm, whatever. And then suppose somebody came in, somebody with a lot of money, and he came in and he said, I'll buy every one of them, and I don't care what kind of condition they're in. I don't care if they got bad eyesight, or whether their hair is short or long or brown or gray or whatever it is. I'll buy them all. And he buys them all, and then he says, okay, you guys are free. You can go. And hopefully they get some paperwork to prove that they're free. That's what Jesus did. He came to us when we were yet sinners, slaves to sin. The wording in some songs is shackled, chained to our sin. He came along and set us free. So we're no longer a slave. And that's what this really what this is all about. The prophet Isaiah, who long before Jesus came on the scene, he said, surely, not surely like the girl Shirley, he took up our infirmities. He took up our infirmities, like our sicknesses, our whatever else was going on with us. And he carried our sorrows. That's in chapter 53, verse 4 of Isaiah. For he bore the sin of many, and he made intercession for the transgressors, for the people that did wrong. He was there. Make intercession for is like when you have an arbitrator comes between a person and another person, and they come in the middle. So Jesus became our, I don't want to call him a lawyer. Advocate, thank you very much.
Amen, Eric.
Yeah, he became an advocate for us. He came in the middle. And finally, it was prophesied that he would not stay in the tomb once he was killed. After, and this is the verse, after the suffering of his soul, he will see the light of life, meaning he'll come back to life, and be satisfied. Isaiah wrote this 700 years before Jesus fulfilled these words. So 700 years before Jesus actually was going through this, Isaiah had prophesied it, and now he's fulfilling that prophecy by living it out. 700 years.
He also said by his stripes we are healed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of good things in Isaiah for sure. Okay, let's do our last song, and then we'll